another video and another one of my little story times. What I wanted to talk and share my story of this week is basically how I ended up on a flight where there was party games and dares over a 45-minute flight, meaning that over the course of the 45-minute flight I had 4 different people sat next to me. So if you want to hear about my lovely flight and how it was basically party games gone wrong, then keep watching. So this happened when I went to Dublin last year. So as per normal, like I fly quite a lot now. I was flying to Dublin. I think it was a Friday morning, so I'd been up quite early. You know, checking in, doing all that good stuff. And basically when I was waiting in the departure bit just to get on my flight, I noticed a group of about 40 men. Some were dressed what I thought was like farmers in like agriculture style Barbara jackets, and then there was another lot of them which I thought was sheep, but actually I'll clarify it, but it wasn't sheep. So they were all dressed like that, and there was about 40 of them, and they were all getting on the flight. So I get on the flight, and one of them dressed in white, who looks a bit young, is like sat near me. Flight took off, bear in mind it was only a 40-minute flight, and he looked a bit nervous, so I thought, you know what, I want to know what they're actually doing, because it's a bit weird. Is it like a rugby social, or is it a stag do, was my first thought. So I asked him, I said, oh, you know, he said, what's your name? And I said, Hannah, blah, 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 we got chatting. So I said, why are you, like, what are you doing here? Is it a stag do? Like, that's nice. Because the other weird thing was when I saw them all, none of them had like suitcases or baggage. All they had was carrier bags. So I was like, you know, what are you here for? And he was like, well, I don't actually know. And I was like, what do you mean you don't know? So he said, look, I think they were rugby players. I think they were. Not professional or anything like that, just like a local Bristolian club. And he said, well, basically, we got told to come to Bristol Airport. We weren't allowed to have suitcases or pack bags. All we were allowed was a carrier bag. We've come out with rugby social, so there's going to be 3 groups of us. And because I'm in the first team and I've just joined, I have to dress in white. Okay, so I thought they were sheep and farmers, which I did tell them, and they thought it was quite funny. So I said, so basically you've come for the weekend? And he said, yeah, I don't know, didn't know where I was flying, didn't know what was going on, I didn't know what I was going to be doing. So then I'm like, oh, okay, so do you know where you're staying? And he was like, no. And then all of a sudden, basically, one of the people who I thought was dressed like a farmer nodded at him, and they all just got up and started moving seats. So then within like 5 minutes, I had this absolute giant of a rugby player sat next to me and another woman. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, this isn't very good from a health and safety perspective. We've now got this absolute giant with us. What is going on? So I said, what's going on? And they said, oh, well, they're daring us. So throughout the course of the flight, whenever they tell us to move, we've got to get up and move. And then it got even weirder, is that they were given a list of what was going to go on, like a schedule of the weekend. And it was all in like, is it Irish? Is it Irish language? I think it is. Oh my God, I sound so stupid. But yeah, it was in a foreign language, so they didn't know what it was. And they just gradually basically kept giving dares. So they had to go and basically, when the trolley's going up and down, obviously bear in mind it's going to be like a refreshment thing. So whenever that was going up, basically they had to go up and go to the toilet. So in the course of the flight, about 15 of them had gone to the toilet. In the end, I ended up having 4 different guys with me. And it actually worked out quite awkwardly, because obviously the staff trying to go along and do their jobs were getting really annoyed. We've got 50 different rugby players moving up and down. I got to get up, I got to get down. Like, luckily we didn't have any turbulence, but what we did have was basically there was like a lot of traffic, a lot of flights that day. So we couldn't land until the other like delayed flights had landed. So we ended up at one point, basically, we had to stay with our seatbelts on. So by the end of the flight, none of them could, that whole swapping seats business couldn't go on. But we basically ended up just sat mid-air waiting to land. And we were on there for like just sat in air for like 30 minutes. And there was turbulence because it was quite windy and rainy that day. And I remember saying to this guy, because bear in mind, the overhead and everything was a completely different, it wasn't his seat, so it wasn't where he was supposed to be sitting. And also he didn't have his stuff with him. So can you bear in mind then when they've got to get off the flight, you know, normally there's like that awkward bit where everyone's trying to get their bag and you're just like, I just want to get off. Well, they're going to then, to get their stuff, they're then going to have to walk like completely opposite ends and cause even more havoc just to get bags. And bear in mind how early in the morning it was pretty grim. But I genuinely said to this guy, I said, look, we're stuck in the air, there's a bit of turbulence. You do realise that now you're not in your seat, God forbid, if anything happens, we're all screwed because we're all sat in different seats. And he was like, oh, that's a very good point. So in the end, luckily, we landed. But then there was that awkward thing. There was about a 15-minute delay getting off the flight because they were all in different seats and it was all going on. So eventually I got off the flight okay, but you can imagine the staff on the airline weren't best pleased because we literally had about 40 rugby players walking up and down, pushing over, pulling over people to get a seat. Lovely bunch of lads, don't get me wrong, but when you just want to do a quick 40-minute flight, you don't expect it where there's party games and all this malarkey going on. But yeah, so that was the story of how on a 40-minute flight to Dublin, I ended up having 4 different people sat next to me with no clue what was going on. So yeah, that was a lovely journey. If you've ever had anything similar happen, please let me know because I'd love to know. They might end up watching this video. If so, hello. I hope your trip to Dublin went okay. I hope no one got arrested and I hope you've all had a good time. But yeah, if you want me to do any other story times on a certain topic, let me know. If you did enjoy this video, please like and subscribe and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.